We're hoping that you're all enjoying a little bit of rain and a little bit of dreaminess right now as we are at the window seat. And we're all eagerly awaiting to hear from Rohit about his own journey. Some of you have been here in the last 2 episodes as well. Some of you are new here. So just to give you a little bit of sense of why we are here, Window Seat is about a beautiful opportunity where we get to know some of the most accomplished, successful leaders in the industry. We really look forward to knowing the person behind the leader as well, to get to know a little bit of them beyond the roles that they play, get to know a little bit of their journey, and collectively learn from it. So this is a beautiful opportunity we all have. And today we have Rohit with us. Rohit is CEO of the copper business of Hindalco, the CEO of Birla Copper. Sorry, somebody's mic is on. Okay, yeah, that's off. All right, sorry. And Rohit also heads a lot of different organizations as president. He's the president of Indian Electrical and Allied Electronics Manufacturers Association. He's also the president of Indian Primary Copper Producers Association and the director of Fertilizer Association of India. Before this current role, where he's the CEO of Birla Copper, he was also the president and CEO of Aditya Birla Insulators and the first CEO of Aditya Birla Power Composites Limited. It's an Indo-German JV that he had set up during his tenure. He joined Aditya Birla in 2011, and he was the advisor to Chairman Kumar Mangalam Birla on strategic priorities. He started his career as an associate principal at McKinsey & Company. So that's a very distinct, different kind of role that he's had in his career as well. Rohit also has a PGDM from IIM Ahmedabad, and he is an electrical and electronics engineer from BITS Pilani, where he's received numerous accolades. What really interests me about Rohit is when I'm looking up Rohit, trying to understand some of his interests, what really struck me is also a lot of his ideas on leadership, which is very progressive, which is very refreshing, which a lot of it seemed like from his own experience, he's trying to really convey to the rest of us, saying this is what leadership should be like. And I'm really glad that he's here with us today, and he will talk us through some of those things and help us understand where he came about with these ideas. How did these dawn upon him, and how does he apply this in his own leadership, as well as he's greatly passionate about growing more leaders. And that's precisely the reason why we have him here as well, to learn from him and his insights on leadership. So Rohit, welcome. We are so glad and grateful for your time here. Like I said, you've just had so many different facets to your career. You started as a consultant, you went into being an advisor of a large organization CEO, and now you are leading large organizations as a CEO yourself. So how has this journey been for you? How have you navigated it, and how have you adapted to the different demands? Sorry, I know. I'm just going to give you the mic. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sushmita, and good to see you, Santosh. So, like you rightly said, I've had a very simple career. I was a consultant, then I became an advisor, and now I'm into an operating role. At the same time, I think if you look at the transition to an operating role, I had probably one of those very different transitions where I became the CEO as my first operating role of a manufacturing business. So I think it's been a very interesting journey, and I'm thankful for the opportunities I've got. I think each of these roles had a very important, I would say, experience and learning opportunity for me. McKinsey is still known as a CEO factory for a reason. I think it does give you a very good grounding on industry structure, strategy, and I think apart from that, it gave a very good insight into leadership and how people think. And you got exposed to so many different organizations, so many different types of industries and types of leaders that consciously or unconsciously, subconsciously, you picked up a lot of goods and bads from what you saw, and what you thought could be done differently. But in a consulting role, you could only think about it, maybe advise some of your clients to try different things. but you could never do it on your own. And that was one of the reasons why, after 10 years with McKinsey, I decided to leave. The primary reason for leaving was actually, being able to spend more time with family when we just had our sons, who were 1 and 3 at that point. And I said, look, this consulting life won't do. So we decided to move to a little more stable role. And Aditya Birla Group provided a very good uh, base to get into because it still had a very large variety of businesses and industries to look at. So, I could still have flexibility into what kind of work I do. And at the same time, that role working with Mr. Birla, uh, was not too away from the consulting role that I'd done because this was also helping him advise versus a direct operating role. So I thought it was a good landing role to come into. Apart from anything else, just working with Mr. Birla was an opportunity that I thought I should definitely take up. And I think those 5 years were fantastic working closely with him. Uh, I think when I came here, I realized a lot more from the other side because here I was sitting looking at some of the consultant work that they do for the Aditya Birla Group, and I was seeing it from a different perspective, and I realized the differences in what sometimes as consultants we would try to think of versus what the client really wants. So I think that shift from consulting to this advisory role was good because here I started appreciating the challenges and wants of the business a lot more clearly. Also, I think Aditya Birla Group gave a very good understanding of just the varied kinds of leadership. In a group, we have businesses which are 50, 60 years old. There are new age businesses which are just starting up. Very different cultures, very different types of people we had in the organization. And I think that understanding from inside out was very, very exciting. I think, and then finally, when I spent 5 years there, I was keen to, one of the reasons of moving to Aditya Birla Group was to get into an operating role. And an opportunity came up, which was to head the insulators business. It's one of the smaller businesses of the group, probably one of the oldest businesses, very manual manufacturing business with unions and a lot of workers. And I just thought, when this came up, I said, look, I want to try and do this. And, Mr. Birla asked me many times, are you sure you want to do this? Because it's a very old school business and tough business. Do you really want to go there? And I said, look, I feel this is a place where I can try to do things differently. All that I've learned over the last 15 years, I thought this was a platform to try and experiment with some of those, whether they really work or no, and try my own leadership style. So I think I moved in there, and those 5 years were fantastic. Tough for sure, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think the thrill of operating and being in a P&L role is has got its charm. So I think it was great. I think in this transition, your question was how did I make these changes and how did I adapt? And I think there were only, I would say there are two things which really I felt made the difference. One was a broader strategic thinking and understanding industries quickly. So I think that was something that's continued with me as a strength from McKinsey into the chairman office role and then into my operating role. I think that was something that really helped me. And second one was working with people. And I think that's been strength. I think it comes a lot from my grounding at home from my family. My father was in the armed forces, and I think just seeing and observing, I think I just picked up this knack of working with people and being with people. And I think that the people skills is what was the second thing that helped me through and through. So those are the two ones which have helped me in this journey. Other things, happen around, but I think, they are not as important. But the strategic thinking and the ability to work with people are the two things which I would say have been the cornerstone of this transition so far. And it's worked well for me.
Very interesting. It sounds so easy when you talk about it, these transitions. But and like you said, there probably have been quite a few challenges. But has there been any time where you felt that maybe I should have played it safe and just, grown in a particular way, in a particular stream, or do you feel like these adventures that you've been on is how you would exactly do it if you had another chance at this?
So I don't think I would do it any differently, because if I'd done it differently, I wouldn't be what I am today. I think what I am today is a mix of all that I've gone through, and it's good and bad has all added up to where I am today, right? And I'm very happy where I am today. So I don't think I would do it differently. Um, so I think uh, you know uh, to your main question, I would say. Um, uh, Let me. So, the operating role is something which I feel uh, uh, is a great opportunity for a leader to try and make a difference. And I think to me, getting into this or this opportunity to try out my style was something that has really been I would say a great, uh, you know, responsibility, but at the same time, a lot of fun. I don't take too much of stress at work, and I find that uh, if you can get directionally things right, the rest all falls in place. So, I'm very happy with the way the journey has turned out. I don't think I would have done anything more differently from what I've done.
And one of the things that you talked about, right, when you started this was about how you wanted to slow down and spend time with your family when you were having young children. And that's not something that one hears as well. And especially at that particular time, I'm pretty sure it was pretty unheard of. I mean, today there is still a lot of, awareness and things like that. So what made you come to that realization that early in your career, saying that this is what's important to me right now, and I need to, take a detour in my career in order to make sure what's important to me is taken care of?
So, I think family was always something which I've held very dear. Uh, and I think that was always a priority. So, when I got married, one of the first few discussions Aarti and I had was I said, look, consulting is a nomadic life. It will be tough and stressful at times. But whenever we feel 5, 6 months, we are not enjoying how we are living, we will shift. So that was the commitment and pact we had made when we got married. And I think it was a time when the children were in that age where we felt that this is not going to work out. I was coming home late, and no matter what you do in consulting, you can't change that lifestyle, right? It's not about working hard, but it's just that you have to travel, you have to be on the road, and you have to give importance to the clients who are, hiring you for the work they think is important. So there was no way we could change that, and hence I said, look, let's make a move. And fortunately, this great role came of working with Mr. Birla, and last 12, 13 years has been fantastic. I think from a lifestyle perspective, it's been quite a balanced role. Uh, I think it's a people mistake the fact that if in senior roles, especially what I'm doing now, hard work is not what differentiates, what you are able to deliver, right? You have to work smart, you have to prioritize, you have to simplify, and that gives more results than trying to put in that extra hours. So I've seen all types of leadership. I feel as a leader, the more you can simplify and prioritize is where you add value, and not by complicating and getting into details. For that, you have a team, you have a company like Hindalco. We have a very large team. So if I end up doing the work which many of them can do, I'm not doing my job, right? I have to do what only I can do and I can add value on.
So you talked about your leadership style. So tell us a little bit more about that, Rohit. How would you describe your leadership style and how did it come about? Who are some of your inspirations? Where did you learn leadership from? How did it dawn upon you?
Good. So, I think there are 5 words which I connect to as a leader. I hope my teams feel the same, and it's not my misconception that I'm that kind of a leader. But I think there are 5 things. One, strategic for sure. I do feel that's one of my strengths, and that's the broader strategic direction and setting the context for the business industry is, I think, one key element of my leadership style. Second is being calm, so I don't get touchwood stressed very easily. There's enough cases where things go wrong, but they happen, and I am a calm leader. I don't get stressed too often. Third, I would say, is empowering. So uh, you know, I don't know whether you call it. So I learned it early, but I think empowering and letting people do the work is a very smart thing to be as a leader, right? And I think that's my style. So I don't take too many things with me. A lot of decisions are delegated, so I don't get into too much of routine. Uh, Fourth is decisive. So good or bad, I have realized that look, you have to take decisions. When you take decisions, not everything will be clear. Uh, so, you can't wait for 100% accuracy for decision making. You have to get it directionally right. And I'm quite decisive. I'm okay to accept when things go wrong, and they will go wrong. But it's okay. I think in the larger scheme of things, I think it's fine. Uh, and fifth, I would say is, empathetic and caring would be the fifth element. I do look at the personal side of things and people quite actively, and it's something that influences how I do, good or bad. But it has a weakness too. But I am quite empathetic. So these would be the five things: strategic, calm, empowering, decisive, and empathetic. In terms of the influences, I think I would say three big influences. First was my dad. He was, like I said, he was in the army, retired general. And as a kid, he was always my role model. He still is my role model. And I think the three things which I spoke about in terms of calmness under stress or under stressful situations, brilliant strategic thinking, and caring for people around, are the three things which sort of just got ingrained in me, looking at him and observing him and how he handled all types of people, from the frontline soldier to seniors to his bosses. Army is very hierarchical, but even in that context, I think really some of these three characteristics I picked up from him. You know, uh, he would this getting things directionally right versus trying to waste too much of time in very minute planning all the time was, I think, one thing which I picked up. He would, know the big things which make a difference, and then the rest he would just let people handle, right? And that, I think, was a very uh, sort of very important influence on what I picked up. Second, I think big influence was not from a person, but I think I would say McKinsey, where over those 10 years you pretty much knew every industry, you knew how to look at different industries. So that confidence of saying you understand the broad basics of industry, I think it comes from there. And as a result, I think very quickly, I know within a week, I know the big areas that I should focus on. That ability to diagnose quickly is something that I've practiced. The network of McKinsey is fantastic, so that's something which I still leverage a lot. And I think third is ability to influence. Like as a consultant, you have to influence people to do something. So that ability to convince someone, build your logic right, build your communication skills right, being able to influence people to do things which are uncomfortable at times is something that consulting taught me, and it's helped me a lot. And I think the third big influence so far has been Mr. Birla. I think working with him 5 years was amazing. Uh, I think the clarity that he brings to any decision is fantastic because, I was amazed. I thought I was great at looking at different industries. As a consultant, you would work on two, three clients at a time and different industries. And, you sort of think of yourself as great. But when I came here, I realized, Mr. Bill is looking at 20, 30 different businesses, all different types, and still able to clearly look at what to focus on in each business. And I think that clarity of thought was, I think, something that I picked up. Second one was calm resilience. I think in those 5 years, always one or the other business was going through a very tough time and the stakes were high. And just seeing him go through that was something which I thought was amazing. And hopefully some of that has rubbed off on me. And third, I think, is around humility. I think he's just very, very humble and down to earth. So I think those three have influenced me. So I've always felt that, look, if Mr. Birla, after all, his stature is like this, I have no reason to be arrogant. So it keeps me very grounded and down to earth all the time. So I think this would be the three key sort of influences: my dad, McKinsey as a firm, and Mr. Birla of late.
Amazing. You talking about calm resilience. Earlier, you also talked about the two things that really help, or rather, kind of, maybe I'm using my word in this, but anchors you as a leader, your ability to strategically think and your people skills.
Yeah.
Have there been a time in your career when these two were at loggerheads, when they didn't come together, and it was a dilemma for you as a leader, how to really navigate that part? Uh,
Yeah. No, so my first operating role, like I said, was in the insulators business, and I joined this. We had two plants, one in Gujarat and one in West Bengal, in Calcutta. And when I joined, the business was going through a very tough space. Uh, the investment cycle for the sector was just over. Suddenly, we were seeing demand going down. So our plant, the one in Calcutta, was just about 40-50% utilized. We had a lot of things in mind of what we can do to try and revive, but it's a 3 to 5 year journey. So we started working on it, but we are uh, not able to run the plant full. And we had about 1,000 plus employees who were working there. Most of them, half of them were permanent workers, half of them were temporary workers. And there were six different unions which were there. And before this, I had only heard about unions in movies and seen some of the movies like Kala Patthar and others, where you knew what unions were. And here I was in the hotbed of unions, and my first interaction with unions. And in 2 years, the negotiation was coming up to settle the next 5 years' wages. And we were starting at a situation where we couldn't employ all of them. So I think this was probably my first test of my leadership style, and something which was important to me, because I always believe that if you are transparent and direct with the workers, they understand. Finally, they are humans. So one of the things which I started doing right from the beginning when I joined the business was spend time at the front line. I would go at the plant, I would go in the night, I would spend time with the workers, see what they're doing. We took a lot of initiatives to make the working conditions even better for the workers on the ground. So I did build that direct connect. And when the negotiations came up, I said, look, instead of doing it as a normal negotiation that happens, I ask this, they ask, say something else, and then we try and negotiate. We tried a different approach with our team, and we said, look, this is the state of the business, and we can only work with so many people. This is what we can run in the next 2 years. And now you tell us what we should do, right? And I put the two options in front of them and saying, look, either we continue the way we are, and maybe in 3 to 6 months, we may have to shut the plant completely, and all of you will lose our jobs. Or maybe help us. We will keep only 50% of you. We will run it well. We'll try and turn this around. And as soon as it turns around, we'll bring you back, right? The others. And to my this thing, the union supported this completely. So this was the first LTS we did, where roughly half the people we were not able to give a job to. And still it went on. It was signed peacefully, not a day of disturbance, and it was unprecedented in that West Bengal area where our plant was. And I think, to me, it was a great test of leadership skills, of how, if you're transparent, respectable, and open with workers, they will understand. So I think that, to me, was a class, strategy and people. It was a tough decision because I knew the tough conditions some of the workers were in. But we tried to be, as we gave them a good severance, we gave them some support. Individually, we supported some people who were going through a tough time. We encouraged some of them to get other jobs in the region. So we did all that, but it was a very smooth process.
So how did you come about that decision to have this conversation? It sounds like a very trustful conversation that you actually had with them in a very difficult
Yes.
situation. And you said this was one of the first experiences that you've had in a situation like that. So what made you come to that decision that let me try and have this transparent conversation, trustful conversation with this group of
So,
people?
so look, so I think one, we had a great team. I think we did spend a lot of time thinking this through on how we should look at it. But like I said, as a kid, I've seen the people in the army have take people for war where you don't know whether you're going to come back or no, right? That's probably the toughest kind of motivation to give. And as I look back, a lot of my learnings come from there of saying, look, the CEO or the commanding officer would spend time with the workers. They would know many of them one to one. They would think and care for them personally. They would go beyond the means to ensure that if someone is in trouble, they're helped. And some of these things build a trust where people listen to you, right? And I think we try to do the same kind of things here, that look, let's build trust, let's genuinely feel that we are one team. I think this notion of a hierarchy is something that I've always believed, that hierarchy is for decision making. It is not for the workplace. The workplace is flat. The people who are actually working are the front line or the top of the hierarchy, right? Because they are doing the work. Everyone else's job is to help them do their work better. Whereas, in all organizations, we end up flipping it around and saying CEO is at the top and then there's a whole hierarchy, right? So I have always said, look, the hierarchy is inverted. Only for decision making, someone has to take responsibility. So that is your responsibility. But, you support the front line. And I think that does work in my view.
So, what is one of the worst decisions that, according to you, you've made as a leader? This sounds like a great decision that you were able to make and come together with your team. But is there something that you made which you felt was a huge blunder at some point, and you had to then work your way back?
I don't think so. Nothing that jumps out as a blunder. I think, look, there are things that don't go as well as what you had expected, but you come back, right? So, it is nothing that I find has been a big blunder so far. There have been a lot of failures, but I think those are failures which you have come back from, right? And been able to cover up quite fairly. See, one of the things which I have done is, Shimita, while I'm decisive, I'm quite open to a better solution from someone else. So I've followed this rule of saying, look, my job is to get things done, but not to do things, right? So if someone has a better solution, I'm willing to take it up, right? And there have been times where maybe halfway down or maybe a little bit down, if someone gave a better idea and I thought that actually may be a better thing to follow, I've retracted and said, look, maybe I was wrong. Let's try this for some time. So those adjustments I'm willing to do. And I think with that, if you hear people uh, and if you're open to different types of inputs, by and large, you can't really go big time wrong, right? Because you hear all the voices of different types. So, for example, in copper, we had a recent situation where, for us, we get copper concentrates from all over the world. We have our own jetty. We download that. We sort of unload that into our jetty and then process it at our plant. So that's a main lifeline. And we had two cranes which do this unloading. One was getting old, and we decided, one of the work managers said, "Look, I feel this crane is beyond its life, and we should get it checked before we use it further." Right? Everyone was saying, "No, I think it can work. Let's just run it at a slightly lower load and let's try it." And I just had this feeling that, look, I think what he's saying makes sense. If the crane fails and breaks, we'll have a bigger calamity at hand. So we decided to shut it down and said, look, let's get it fully repaired and checked, and then we'll use it. As luck would have it, the other crane, within a month of this being shut down, collapsed. So we suddenly had a jetty without a crane, and we didn't know what to do because now the whole our supply chain was broken, and the 2/3 of the India copper industry depends on us. So it was a very tough call, but I think the team really rallied very well to come out of the solution with ways in which we could handle this. And actually, customers didn't even realize that we had such a big issue. For 6 months, we ran in a way where we did many adjustments on how to work, and still managed to run a smooth operation till the planes were repaired. And I think that was a fantastic experience. So I think uh, what I'm getting to is, if you genuinely unleash the entrepreneurship in your teams, I think you can, no problem is that big that can't be solved.
And this is where you say that people are resourceful and not resources, right?
Yes.
This is probably what you're trying to say when you say that.
Yes. So, let me not take the copyright of this statement, because I think this is something which I picked up.
Yeah.
I saw Sadhguru say this some in one of his things. I think at one of the leadership forums also I heard. But I think this is a very good way of talking about people. I think as HR, we always call it human resources, but it was okay at a time where you were thinking of people as bodies coming to work and doing some work and going back, right? In today's world, you don't want just a body coming to work. You want the mind and the heart to come to work, and only then you can make a difference. And hence, I think, to me, looking at people as resourceful, giving them a platform from which they can create impact, is probably the smartest thing you can do, because you need all those brains to be working, solving your problems. The challenge there is to ensure that your vision is clear and people know what to do and where to use their mind for, right? If you create that recipe well, I think things happen.
Absolutely. I think that's really quite revealing, and I think this realization is coming today a lot more than it was before, and it's quite amazing how you keep talking about this, Rohit, more and more, because you, coming from people like you who've done this and who are seeing the truth of it, I think it also simmers down and percolates down to newer leaders even more strongly. So it's great to hear you say that. I'm going to bring in some voices from the audience. Also, Santosh, I'm sure Santosh also has some
Yeah.
questions. He always does. So there he is.
We explored Rohit's past and looked at three distinct careers, and he explored. I'm very keen, and he's also someone from where he explained that the kind of life-changing decisions that he took based on some of the priorities. So family was a priority at that point of time. So I'm curious to know, A, what are your priorities in life right now? Two, based on that, what kind of a future next 10 years? What would you love to do?
So I think the good part is my priority of family has not changed. So I think that is good. So, now kids are grown up, but, I still want to ensure that we spend enough time with them, with my wife, with my mother. So that, I think, remains as a core priority. But over the years, I think, there are two other priorities which now I focus on. One, I feel strongly about mm, uh, that the opportunity for India is huge, and it's a time where we need to make a difference. And hence, I spend a lot of time in how can we leverage this window of opportunity that the country has to create more prosperity and development, and all the good things that we talk about the country. So I think that's one priority which I've been focusing on. So in both my previous role and current role, hence you see me very involved in the associations where I try to make a difference, where the platform can be larger and we are doing something in the larger interest of the nation. The second priority to me is or linked to that, is probably manufacturing, because I've stayed away from uh, services and fintech and others. I don't think I understand those that well. I felt manufacturing for a country like ours is a very important sector which doesn't attract good talent. Everyone wants to go into IT or software or marketing. And I've always felt passionate that, look, this core sector needs good leaders to attract more talent. And hence, I think that is one big, the India and manufacturing as a cusp is something that is a priority on how I can shape it. Second to me is around just mentoring and helping people get to their potential. So I spend a lot of time mentoring, coaching, guiding people across in my company, in the industry, young college graduates, all types of people. I think at any point in time, probably I'm, talking to at least, 20, 30 people whom I'm trying to mentor in different ways, and then move to the next batch regularly. So I pick up people. I think it's also a great platform for me to learn and understand different aspects, because as you mentor, you also learn a lot more about how people think. But I think that's the third area. So just spending time on developing people and helping them get to their potential is sort of the third thing. So family, India plus manufacturing and mentoring.
Thank you. Now let's open to some of the people who may have some questions to ask. So
I can see
Yes.
a few
from your video.
familiar faces.
Yeah. But the Hindalco people will get second chance.
Yeah.
Can ex Hindalco can get a chance?
Yes.
So thank you, Rohit ji. Good afternoon, Sushmita, Santosh ji, and all. Good afternoon. So I'm the ex Hindalco. I was at Baruch and working with the Birla Copper from 2006 to 2010. Uh, we are connected through LinkedIn, Rohit ji.
Okay.
And I'm also connected with a lot of people who work in Hindalco Birla Copper. They all are my friends today. And I seen the change, the way you bring the change in the organization. I also follow your mentorship. You give the mentorship to a lot of students. Uh, I think so. I've seen one videos,
Sure.
and I've seen it's a huge change in terms of cultural activity, in terms of uh, manufacturing, safety, and all the aspects. Now the Birla Copper, where I was working, during that time, and today it's totally different. So I highly appreciate the efforts that you bring, and I just want to know, because I'm also from the different background, so how you get this kind of, as you say, that you influence through your family, through father, but having a different role in your career, how to adapt everything at first day when you start, or when you becoming the leader for this insulator business. So how you get those initial days in your mind, how you make strategize or prioritize it?
Sure. Sure. So thanks, and I hope good to hear that you are at least hearing that there's a change in Birla Copper. So at least I was not faffing about the change that is coming. So I'm glad, and I
Yes.
do hope that you will probably join us back and make a difference. Uh,
Thank
uh,
you.
Having said that, so look, I think the good or bad is that I very early on realized that I'm not a specialist.
Right.
So, I don't know any specific industry in detail well enough to become an expert in that industry. And hence, I never tried and ventured down that path of trying to say, I will tell you, like when I moved to insulators, yes, I was electrical engineer, but that I did 20 years ago, right before when I joined the company. I had forgotten almost everything that I had learned. And hence, I never ventured down into saying, I will tell you how to make insulators better, right?
Right.
I knew they were experts, and I said, look, my job is to ensure that I tap their brains and their knowledge best. So I think that was a very important element, and also a very big time saving approach, because you know I my job was to be able to ask the right questions and open up enough experiences for them to learn and try or get some new ideas, right?
Right. Right.
And not try to solve for them the problem that they're facing, because I don't know, right, how the insider thing works. Yes, I being an engineer, I get a gist of it, but I'm not no expert. So I think that was one. So hence I spent time on things, like I said, where I felt I could make a difference. So for me, understanding what's happening in the industry, so that at least I know not what is going to happen in the next quarter. I fortunately never really worried too much about quarter to quarter performance. Yes, you have to deliver that, and you have to ensure that as a P&L leader, you are on top of that. But my focus was a lot more on saying, where is this business headed 2 or 3 years down the line? And am I doing enough
Right.
to drive it in that direction? And that was, I think, the important part. Spending time with the customers and building that relationship was a very important thing, because only then you know what's happening. It's insulators is a very order-driven business. So one transmission line comes and suddenly you have 8, 9 months of good order book. So you have to fill the order book in advance, and hence you have to be ahead of what's happening, in the industry. So that is what I spend time on. And third, I spend a lot of time on the people and ensuring that we are creating a structure where people can try and do their best. There are a lot of silos which we had to break. There was a moving around that we had to do. So I spent a lot of time on that. So, these were the 3 areas where I thought I spent time on. And I ensured that I didn't get distracted by trying to technically learn everything.
Right.
Because that's a very
Right.
slippery slope, right? Otherwise, you can take all the time and I'll still not be better than, let's say, some of my department heads or section heads who are at the plant.
Right. Right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Arun.
Hi, sir.
Hi,
Hi, Muneeswaran, sir. How are you, sir?
Hi, Manish. Good to hear from you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for the wonderful section for the today. I think I missed out you under your leadership last 1 year.
You can
Before
come back.
that,
Maybe this is becoming a recruitment call session for me.
yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I not ask any question to anything, sir. But first of all, I thank to you, your which is you under you 1.5 years I working under your leadership and motivation to us. So I think this level I came for right now based on your motivation. Whenever I done some any mistake or anything we are do for that, always you do the motivation.
Thanks, Manish.
So I think small mistake happen under you. You are told is the learning process, no problem. So
Yes.
this is the learning is always getting for that. I am coming from that to mark level.
Very good. Great.
I am
Thanks.
very thankful to you as well as our Birla Copper associate for the wonderful session.
Thank you.
But
Thank
last
you.
1 year I not meet with you for the one-to-one, but this is a good opportunity for me. I meet and discuss with you, sir.
Sure. Thank you, Manish. Atul bhai, you had a question?
It wasn't a question, actually. But for the benefit of the others on the call, I've known Rohit from the time he's grown up.
Maybe from since I was born. So
You're born.
yeah.
So, but this is the first time I'm hearing him in a professional forum. And I mean, the humanity and the humaneness which he displays in his personal life is exactly what I'm hearing about how he goes about things in his professional life. And I'm really, really happy to have joined this call. He and me are related, actually. So let's not go there. But I agree with him about his father being his first role model, because I knew the gentleman very well. And to me also, he's been a role model of sorts. So thank you, Rohit, for giving me an insight into your professional life.
Thank you, Atul bhai. Thank you.
I have a tricky question.
Yeah.
Which is then I will hear others. While most of us, when we drive a P&L and these things, the CEOs can create transformation, change. But large organization, I also find that some level of a political savviness too, because there are multiple leaders, multiple people. Whether if you do only good thing, was it only enough, or over the years, you also, because of your connect with the people and your ability to connect, you felt that it was able to for you that network that you mentioned, in McKinsey, and within this. So how important do you think, and you also work with industry bodies?
Yes.
Important you think for leaders not only focus just on their part and build some powerful network through which they can learn, they can build their career or anything. Would you mentor people in that way when you talk?
That's a very important question, Santosh. And, I think whether you call it political savviness or would you just, call it some element of leadership. See, in an organization, let's say even a large organization like ours or industry bodies, like you said, I think, are hotbed for some of these things. People come in with very different expectations from what they want from that organization or from their role. And hence, as a leader, you have to have the savviness to be able to understand the different wants of people and then be able to uh, craft a common purpose which can unify everyone, right? So in an organization, for example, look, in Hindalco, we've had uh, functional silos for a long time. So, and one of the things we tried to realize is now is the time to move back a little bit more towards a operational, and collaborative way of working, and we changed the organization structure around it because functions were putting in their requirements, and the unifying purpose was being lost, right? So I think to me, two elements of this so-called political savviness. I think one is uh, ensuring that you understand the different stakeholders and what they want, right? And second is then, can you craft something which is common and use that and play that up to create and rally people around that common cause, right? That if you're able to do, I think you can navigate it. For example, let's say, we have auditors, right? Different types of auditors. There'll be cost auditors, financial auditors, auditors. So, their job is to look at problems, right? And if you keep hearing all the problems all the time, you can get depressed very quickly, right? Saying, oh, there's so many things that are wrong, right? But that is their job. So, you have to figure out how then you position this with saying, okay, but there's so many other things that are going well, and balance the two in a way where you can then move forward. Otherwise, you can get very, you can spend all your time just trying to fix the problems. But that's not what life is, right? In cricket, like they say, if you tried to teach Sehwag to play defense, India wouldn't have had the opening that we had with Sehwag, right? So you have to play to the strengths of people at times and not just with their weaknesses or problems. So I think to me, you have to hence. So I think one important element in this as a leader is, now whether it's right or wrong, I don't know, it's worked for me, is to have free time and unstructured time. So I, by design, have 30-40% of my time on calendar free, right? Because only then I will pick up things and signals versus just run from meeting to meeting. So, unlike many other leaders who have a choco-block calendar, I have a very different way of looking at a calendar. And, in this one thing one of dad's friends shared with me was something that has stuck with me. And I think Atul bhai, you'll know him. So, there's a friend of dad, General Vij. So we had gone to him for a vacation. We were staying at his home. He was a corps commander that time. And, I was sitting for lunch at around 1:30, and he came in sharp at 1. And I asked him, I said, Uncle, aap to badi jaldi aa gaye ghar. Normally in army also, people would come at 2:30 at times. So he said, look, Rohit, I am the corps commander. My job is to take decisions. So I am the last to office and first out of office. All administrative work my chief of staff is supposed to handle. My job is to keep my mind clear so that when decisions have to be taken, I have clarity and I don't have clutter in my mind. And I think that, while sounding very simple, is a very, very, for leaders at least, it's a very important takeaway, which has always stuck in my mind as something to keep this thing. So that's probably what I would say, Santosh.
In our leadership parlor, sometimes we use this terminology called the ability to move between balcony and the dance floor.
Okay.
Because the dance floor is where we get
Yes.
things done and
Yes.
do stuff. But many leaders, because they are busy there, they don't have time to move into the balcony.
Balcony, yeah.
Balcony gives a slightly bigger picture,
Yes.
why people are, who is dancing with whom, why are they doing it. Then when they come down to the dance floor, they are much more effective in decisions. That way.
Yes, yeah, that's true. So, Mridul, maybe you go first. I know Jagrut and Pallav have their hands raised, but maybe Mridul, you go first.
Yes, hi. Thank you very much for the opportunity, of course, Mr. Rohit. And I apologize for the appearance that I'm carrying right now. This is my vacation look. So
Okay.
please excuse me for this.
No issue.
But big fan. I learned about you from my wonderful interaction with Mrs. Anjali Karolia at the Pune
Oh,
airport,
okay.
and that is where I first googled your name.
Oh, nice. Okay.
About me, of course, my name is Mridul Jain. I am currently a 30-year young professional. Uh, by qualification, I'm a BTech mechanical engineer from Bharatiya Vidyapeeth Pune, and
Okay.
I come from a family business background in publication.
Okay.
Um, then, gradually moving up the ladder, I transitioned into the corporate job. I've developed multiple
Okay.
technology business for 250 Fortune American company in India in the energy sector and,
Okay.
various sectors. And now I'm with a German company, leading the marketing side of them
Okay.
within the country, working for the
Sure.
global engineering space.
Okay. So what's
Technical sales always have been in my interest, and
mm,
I really seek your guidance now. Uh, what sort of skill sets or what sort of advice you can give me to move further in my career? How should I really, I really need your help in planning my career path moving forward.
so look, I think maybe we should connect offline for me to give you right advice because this is a very loaded question. I don't want to give you anything wrong, but I think just 2 points which I'll say. I think one, uh, look, technical sales is something where obviously you need to understand the technical aspects well, right? So unlike my career where I'm not deep in the technical side, I think you will have to be deep in your technical side to be able to make a difference and add value. But I think the second and probably the more important one is, many times salespeople get lost in trying to sell their product or services and forget the real need of the customer. So I think to me, the important thing for you to think about always is, are you helping the customer be successful? If that is your mindset, you will figure out how to solve for it best, and very high chance that you will do well in your career because that's important. So, even as a consultant, one of the things that I tried to follow was, I'm not here, and that was good about the McKinsey system where the pressure of trying to get studies was not so much, right? But you were always looking for how can you help the client be successful. And I think that mindset probably is a very important mindset to keep and cultivate. It will help you, throughout your life. For example, in my copper business too, when I talk to the sales team, my constant communication to them is saying, look, the material will sell, don't worry. But you focus on, are you helping your customers become better and stronger? Because if they grow, they'll buy more from you. So not a problem, right? So sales will happen automatically. But are you helping your customers be successful? Is I think what focus you should maintain. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. And how can one reach out to you, sir, for
Reach out through
mentorship?
LinkedIn or I'm reasonably accessible. We can set up some time.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
So I'm going to just come in and say that we only
Yes.
have about 6 minutes, and
Yes.
I'm sure there are a lot of questions coming in the chat box. There are a lot of hands up. So I'm, Rohit,
Just keep
taking the
it short.
liberty to tell
Sure.
people that they can reach out to you on LinkedIn and ask some of these
Yes.
questions if,
Yes.
they still
Sure.
want. And I want to use this time a little bit for all of us to have a little bit more about you,
Sure.
maybe as a rapid fire question,
Sure.
which will also pep up,
Okay.
some interesting answers. So
Yeah.
all right. So first question comes your way, which is, what are 3 adjectives that would describe Rohit the person?
So I would say family man, caring and humble.
Okay. You already talked about leadership, so I'm not going to ask that question, but
Sure.
what's
Yeah.
the most proud moment for you as a leader?
So I think the most proud is probably yet to come. Because I think I'm just getting started. Hopefully, so there's a long way to come. So, but I think look, there have been quite a few journeys which I'm very happy about what I've been able to deliver. So I think what I did in some of the last roles at Aditya Birla Insulators, what I'm doing here, I think is something which makes me feel great. So I feel every day is something which is good and better than the last. There's
That's
no one
amazing.
proud moment. This thing.
It's amazing. It's
Yes,
one of the
but
challenges that people don't acknowledge their proud moments. And hearing
yes,
you say that every
yes.
moment is a proud moment is
But
great.
I would say the one thing which will always remain special is, that's not as a leader, but more as a person, was when I joined BITS. I joined BITS in a dual degree program. Fees was only 10,000 a year at that point in time, but it was for an army officer, it was still a lot of money. And when I went there, it was a bit of a bet because I didn't go to some of the good colleges like COEP in Pune and others, and I went to BITS in the dual degree program because of the brand. But after year one, I was in the top 10, and I transferred from my dual degree program to electrical and electronics, and plus I had a full scholarship from the campus. And that,
Wow.
I think, to me was something which always remains special because the first time I was out of the house, and I felt, dad feel the pride of what I did. And that, I think, will remain special as a moment for me always.
Amazing. Who anchors you, Rohit?
I think family. I think that's, to me, is probably the best anchor that I have in my mind. And I think a little bit of spirituality, uh, where I realized that, look, this is life is a journey. There will be good times and bad times, so I don't take either too seriously. So I think a bit of spirituality. Again, that came from my dad. He used to meditate and he used to read a lot. And I picked up a few things. I was a very bad reader, so that's, I think, one of the drawbacks I have. But I picked up a lot of things. So to me, that calmness that spirituality brings is something that is probably a big grounding factor.
And what is one thing, according to you, that every leader should do, and one thing no leader should do?
Interesting. So I think one thing you should always do is, look, your role as a leader is to help people succeed. Organizations will succeed if you help the people succeed. So many times people as leaders get lost in trying to only focus on the organization and forget the people. So I've tried to flip it around, and I think, focus on the people, get the best out of them, and organizations will do well. Is, I think, the focus. I think what you should not do is, I think, two things which I really, really get annoyed with is, one is get into micromanagement or do too much of you know accurate work versus directional is something which I don't like. And I think ego is again the second part, where if the ego gets to you of your authority or position, that's something which I think, at least, I don't gel with. Leaders should not do it. People should want to be with you and make you a leader versus you get a leadership position.
And the final question to you is, if financial stability was not something that bothered you when you started your career, and I'm assuming it did, but
Yeah.
for most people, right? Who would you be today if money was not a factor at all? What would you be doing?
I don't know, yeah. Frankly, I don't know. I'm enjoying. See, I enjoy being with people. I enjoy trying to make a difference, and this is probably still one of the best things. I've got a platform to try and make a difference. Unlike many other people, I have never had a strong passion that I have to do only X, right? And that's why if you look at my choices, McKinsey was a classic choice, right? I didn't have to pick an industry or a sector or a function. I could just be whatever excites me from time to time. So I've been a firm believer of saying opportunities come when they come. You see if it works for you and take it on. So I've never really planned long term from a tactical perspective. Directionally, yes, I've sort of followed a certain path and gone in a certain direction, but uh, I'm very open to new experiences and new ideas, and I'm very loyal. So, I've just changed companies once, McKinsey to ABG, and that's it. I don't see myself changing beyond this. So, I think to me, it's, opportunities keep coming, and I'm okay taking wherever I feel I can make a difference. What I've done is I have not followed where everyone tries to go. I've generally tried to go where people don't want to go, so that there, obviously, you can make a bigger difference. So making a difference is what excites me, and I think to me, I'm doing exactly that, hopefully.
Let me reframe this a bit. If
Okay.
you were not in the corporate world, what could be another profession that you think you would have done well?
I don't know. I don't think I can be an entrepreneur, because entrepreneur requires too much of my management and administrative work, which I don't enjoy. Sports person, maybe I'm good at squash.
For me,
Maybe I could have taken it professionally, but I don't think that stamina is something that I have. I enjoy it, but I may not have been a great person at it. I think a coach, counselor is something that I could be. But I would say, if I had not had the experience I've had, all the people who have signed up wouldn't have signed up for the discussion. I think many people sign up because they think, you have done well in life and they want to learn from you. So without doing that, becoming a coach or a counselor, I don't think helps. So I think maybe I will get to a coach counseling type of a situation maybe later. But this experience is important for credibility. But I enjoyed that. I think if even one life you can change positively, it's you've done well in life, and I think that's what I try to do.
Amazing. Thanks so much for sharing that, Rohit. It's been a pleasure listening to you. How grounded, the calm resilience that you kept talking about came throughout this, and I think there are quite a few questions on how to achieve that. So I'm thinking that you may get some LinkedIn inbox messages where you'll probably have to respond to that. But thank you so much. What do you want to leave us with? What's your parting words for us?
So I think I'll just say, look, leadership is a opportunity and a responsibility that you get, and it is up to us how you want to make it count. So if you can prioritize and simplify work for your team, make their lives better, and create a larger lasting impact, that should be your role as a leader. You have to be pretty much invisible at times, and let the teams bloom and the thing. So one of the lessons which I always, in my first speech as a CEO, which I made in Insulators, I remember I told people that, look, one of the things you have to focus on is try and make yourself redundant in your role. And the faster you do that, the faster you will grow. Because, that means your team is ready to handle whatever you're doing and you can do something more. So I think, to me, as a leader, the faster you make yourself redundant, the better your chances of growth and greater impact that you can create. And that is what you should focus on. A lot of people try and do exactly the opposite of trying to tell why they are so important for the organization, which I think is probably the wrong, line to go for.
That's a great piece of advice, Rohit, and I think that's something we'll all remember. Thank you
And
so
I think
much.
just one other thing maybe I'll say is, a lot of people talk about, look, past is gone. So you can only learn from the past. So there's no point in staying too much in the past. Yes, mistakes would happen. Learn from it, move on. Right? Don't overspend time. Future will always be a mystery. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen the next minute. Right? So think about it. You should have a plan, but don't overthink about it. Oh, if this happens and you get lost in that. The only thing you have is the present, right? So just ensure that you enjoy the present and do your action in the present, right? A lot of people end up spending too much of time in the past or the future, which is very unproductive and causes only grief in most cases. So be in the present. This is when you can make a difference. Take a call. It may go right, may go wrong, but it's okay. It's life.
So the magic is in the present.
Exactly. That's why it's called the present.
Yes. Thanks so much, Rohit. So grateful to have you with us here. Thanks for your time and your pearls of wisdom. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Shimita. Pleasure. Thanks for the conversation. And thanks, Santosh. And thanks all of you for coming.
Thanks, everybody.
Good to see so many familiar faces. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.